Good morning, and welcome to Accotink Unitarian Universalist Church live stream worship service. I'm Kate Heilig, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I'm happy and blessed to be leading today's service along with the True Accotink Colors members. Accotink UU Church is a welcoming and inclusive community that seeks to create a more just and compassionate world through our actions to bring about justice and by honoring the web of nature of which we are all a part. All are welcome here in this justice-seeking, earth-healing community of faith. You are welcome no matter whom you love, no matter your identity or heritage, no matter your beliefs or backgrounds, no matter your means or abilities, you are welcome here in this religious community. We also welcome the ancestors and descendants. We welcome the people who made each of us, the biological ancestors, spiritual ancestors, teachers, and guides. We welcome those who imagined and made our congregation possible. We welcome the ancestral people of this land and recall that our church, like all of Burke, rests on the unceded territory of the Manahoac tribe of the Great Sioux Nation. We seek healing with the people of this land, whose bodies and spirits live on in their descendants, many who are members of the Manakan Nation, Indian Nation, the Potawatomi Indian Tribe of Virginia, and the Piscataway Indian Nation. We honor the ancestors as we've moved towards healing so that all the descendants together shall one day know full justice. With this, let us welcome the longings and hopes of all the descendants that we might live for them today. I now invite Sheila, our worship associate for today, to continue our welcome.
If you're new to Accotink and would like to talk more about this church, please be sure to reach out to me, our minister, Reverend William, or a member of the board. Contact information is posted on our website, www.accotinkuu.org. On our website, you can also check out the online order of service on the worship section. While you're on the website, be sure to check out our events page for upcoming virtual gatherings and other news. I now invite you to close your other windows and apps and devices, take a deep breath, and center yourself for worship.
Our chalice lighting poem is May This Flame by Betts Wienecke. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us.
And now a reading. A Chance by Natasha Abayomi. I stand here out of fear of judgment, fear of ridicule, but most of all, fear of abandonment. I'm afraid that if I come out of this lonely little closet, what waits beyond will be of a much greater peril. Or perhaps it will be the release I've been looking for. So I'll take this chance.
Our reading this morning is excerpted from a poem by Walt Whitman called Song of the Open Road. From this hour, I ordain myself lost of limits and imaginary lines, going where I list, my own master, total and absolute, listening to others, considering well what they say, pausing, searching, receiving, contemplating, gently but with undeniable will, divesting myself of the holes that would hold me. I inhale great draughts of space. The east of the west are mine, and the north and the south are mine. I am larger, better than I thought. I did not know I held so much goodness. All seems beautiful to me. I can repeat over to men and women, you have done such good to me, I would do the same to you. I will recruit for myself and you as I go. I will scatter among men and women as I go. I will toss a new gladness and roughness among them. Whoever denies me, it shall not trouble me. Whoever accepts me, he or she shall be blessed and shall bless me.
Like curious little kelp in today's Time for All Ages story, I know what it feels like to be searching for answers about myself and searching for communities I might be part of. As an introvert, I find it scary to meet a new group of people. Will I feel welcome or uncomfortable? Will I be accepted or feel like I'm crashing a party? Will I be able to be myself, or is it safer to hide my pride flags and eliminate geeky references from my vocabulary? I'm a member of many communities, but today I'm going to share how curiosity led me to become part of 2 different communities. I'm going to start with a quote from Verna Myers and expanded by Cynthia Olmedo. Diversity is being invited to the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance. Equity is allowing you to choose the music. Years ago, during a lunch break, my then coworkers and I amused ourselves by taking an online belief-o-matic quiz that would tell you what religion was right for you. I was the only one of us who had a 100% match as my result. The quiz told me that I had Unitarian Universalist beliefs. Even though my parents had been married in a UU church, I knew next to nothing about the religion. It was fun to read the results, but it wasn't something I felt any interest in pursuing. When I passed church tents at pride festivals, I kept on walking and was careful not to make eye contact lest I find myself in awkward conversations with strangers. I considered myself to be an agnostic with earth-based pagan preferences, content to practice on my own. I wasn't looking to join a religious community when I first stepped foot in AUC's building years ago. Nancy Melito was hosting a clothing and goods swap event at the church, and I knew her daughter through my local Harry Potter community group. I hadn't attended church services since I was 5 and didn't know how I would feel being inside a church again. It turns out I felt curious. Throughout the event, I kept looking over at the chancel, at the rainbow tapestries and the rainbow-colored stained glass in the windows. Did the rainbows indicate I would be welcome, or were they just colorful decorations? I wasn't sure. I could really have used a sign like the one we have now outside of our church, with the rainbow and transgender flags and the unambiguous words, "All are welcome at Accotink UUC." You'll hear more about welcoming imagery later in this service. Back then, I drifted over to the bulletin board in the gallery and read the announcements. There was one for a toy drive and one about recycling and composting at the church. I saw the library and the wall of beautiful hand-stitched name tags showing off all the things the church members were passionate about. I read some of the pamphlets by the main door about UU principles, and this one offering a spiritual home for LGBTQ people. Finally, the proof I was looking for. Even more curious, I went home that night and perused the church's website and Facebook group. It was the upcoming winter solstice service that drew me to attend. Though I was nervous and shy, I was greeted warmly not only at the door, but also by those who sat near me and saw that I was a newcomer. I don't remember everyone who greeted me, but I was shy and nervous, and every warm smile and welcoming word was so meaningful to me. I enjoyed the service, the music, and the feeling of connection in the community so much, I came back the next Sunday, and the next, and the next. There were so many things that kept me coming back, from Brad playing a Queen song from my favorite fandom Highlander as music during an offertory, to the congregation-wide activity of assembling meal packs. Feeling that sense of service radiating through everyone was addictive to me. I often say that volunteering is my happy place. I was a Girl Scout for 8 years. At West Springfield High School, my best friends and I were members of many clubs, including ones for academics and service. We also did a lot of volunteer work outside school, including volunteering for years at Echo candy striping at Alexandria Hospital, and participating in every charity fundraising walk we could find. Cancer, hunger, homelessness, diabetes, you name it, we were there. Sometimes we walked, other times we volunteered at the walks. In my junior year of high school, we signed up to be volunteers at AIDS Walk Washington, which is now called the Walk to End HIV. We had participated as walkers the year before and were excited about being involved in the walk as volunteers this time, with our blue volunteer shirts and hats reading "Obey Me." We were assigned to be route volunteers, our duties including cheering on the walkers, indicating which route they should follow, and radioing in for help if anyone seemed to be in distress. The bus we ended up on was for fill-ins, supplementing each station along the route, which meant only 1 or 2 volunteers would be needed at a time. My 2 best friends and I would be required to split up, and I volunteered to be the odd one out. Suddenly, I found myself on a street corner in the middle of Washington, D.C. with 3 older strangers. They were college students who could easily have excluded me, the geeky high school student who had just been assigned to work with them for the day. Instead, they all commended me for volunteering, were sensitive to the fact that I'd been separated from my friends, and made me feel welcome. I don't want to brag, but I think our corner ended up being the best along the entire route. One of the guys had brought his boombox, which is how we listened to music back in my day, and instead of clapping or cheering as participants walked by, we danced. Many people heard the music as they approached our corner and were already dancing by the time they got to us, so they danced with us. A few people enjoyed the music so much that, even tired from all the walking, they stayed for more than one song. I had a fantastic time, and I suspect that many of the walkers did as well. Between groups of walkers, we chatted and got to know each other. And between the time the last walker passed us and the time the bus came by to pick us up for closing ceremony, we had even more time to talk. One of them had a copy of the Washington Blade. There we go. Which is our local LGBTQ newspaper in the United, and it's actually that's the oldest LGBTQ newspaper in the United States as well. When I said I'd never read it before, all 3 of them sat down with me on the curb and walked me through it. It ended up being a crash course of the queer scene in DC, from the best music venues to which columnists to look out for, to what the abbreviations used in the personal ads meant. It was enlightening and educational. As interesting and diverse as the newspaper was, however, I didn't see anyone quite like me represented in it. In case you're curious, I'm genderqueer and asexual. I've never seen anyone like me in a book, story, or memoir either, but I have found a few queer characters who come close to saying what I feel inside, and I'm always reading more. In fact, Nancy Davis is assembling a spreadsheet of LGBTQ+ reads, many of which I recommended. In 2007, I began volunteering at Pohick and Kings Park libraries because I love books, and again, volunteering is my happy place. Occasionally, after a shift, I'd head over to the community bulletin board and publication section and quickly sneak a copy of the Washington Blade into my purse. They were free for the taking, but I was nervous about being seen with it, scared about what questions my librarian friends would have for me. I was still figuring out where I felt on the gender and sexuality scales. I was still trying on different terms to explain who I was, but I knew the newspaper would give me the connection to the local queer community that I craved. Other community groups and friendships followed soon thereafter. Looking back, there were moments in my childhood when I questioned traditional gender roles and where I fit within them. There were many moments in my teenage years when I knew my sexuality was much different from those around me or what I saw on TV. Even if I wouldn't have the words to describe it, the curiosity to explore it, or the courage to embrace it publicly for another 10 or 20 years. When I think of the real beginning of understanding my LGBTQ+ identity, I always come back to the moment when 3 college students who could easily have brushed me off instead took the time to introduce me to the local gay culture. They made me feel welcome and valued. We shared stories and experiences, we laughed at newspaper comics, we did some good serving our community, and we danced proudly in the streets.
Though we will extinguish our chalice flame, we carry within us what we kindled, the light of inspiration, the warmth of compassion, the fire of commitment. May we bring these gifts into our lives and share them radiantly out into the world.
I invite you to join me now in our community blessing with these words of David Bumbaugh. This church is dedicated to the proposition that behind all our differences and beneath all our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time, death, and the space between the stars. We pause now in silent witness to that unity.
It is so important to us to have a visual reminder that we are and will always be a welcoming congregation. So in that spirit, True Accotink Colors would like to present this progress flag to the AUC congregation, which will be displayed in our church gallery, along with our welcoming congregation certificate.